I received the call on a Tuesday morning. My ex-wife Amanda, who I had cut all ties with 12 years ago after catching her cheating, was suddenly reaching out because my father was dying. Her voice brought back painful memories I had buried long ago. Despite my reservations, I agreed to meet at the hospital. Sometimes life throws the most unexpected people back into your path at the most vulnerable moments. Before I continue this story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit subscribe to join me through this uncomfortable reunion that took a turn I never expected. The morning started like any other in my Seattle apartment. At 38, I had established a comfortable routine. Wake up at 5 morning, run along the waterfront, shower, black coffee, then head to the office where I had worked my way up to CEO of Nexus Innovations over the past decade. The skyline view from my minimalist apartment reminded me daily of how far I had come since the divorce that nearly destroyed me 12 years ago. When my phone rang with an unfamiliar number, I almost declined it, assuming it was another sales call. Something made me answer. "Collins, it is Amanda." The voice from my past sent an electric shock through my system. Amanda, the woman who had been my college sweetheart, then my wife, then the architect of the most painful betrayal of my life. We had not spoken a single word since the divorce was finalized. "Why are you calling me?" I managed to keep my voice steady despite the adrenaline surge. "It is about your dad, Collins. He has stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors are giving him weeks, maybe a month. I thought you should know." My mind raced with questions. How did she know about my father? Why was she the one calling? My relationship with my father had been strained, but respectful over the years. We spoke on holidays and birthdays, nothing more. "How do you even know this?" I asked, trying to process the dual shock of my father's condition and Amanda being the messenger. "I ran into him at a charity event 3 years ago. We stayed in touch. He did not want to worry you until he absolutely had to. He is at Seattle Memorial, room 416. The silence stretched between us, 12 years of unspoken words, creating an almost physical barrier. "Will you come?" she finally asked. "Of course I will come. He is my father." I paused, then asked the question burning in my mind. "Will you be there?" "Yes. There are things we should probably talk about. Things I should have said years ago." Was this finally the apology I had once desperately needed, but eventually learned to live without? I told her I would drive to the hospital immediately, then hung up before emotion could creep into my voice. The 40-minute drive gave me time to prepare mentally. Memories flooded back as I navigated through traffic. Our wedding day, the home we bought together. The night I came home early from a business trip and found her with someone else in our bed. The look on her face when I told her I wanted a divorce. No tears, no begging for forgiveness. Just resigned acceptance, as if she had been waiting for it to happen. I had thrown myself into work after that, climbing the corporate ladder with singular focus. Dating occasionally, but never letting anyone get close. The betrayal had built walls I was not sure could ever come down. The hospital loomed ahead, a towering monument of glass and steel. I parked and sat for a moment, hands gripping the steering wheel. I was about to face the two people who had shaped the man I had become through both love and pain. Taking a deep breath, I stepped out of the car and walked through the sliding doors. Amanda sat alone in the waiting room outside the oncology ward. Her blonde hair was shorter now, styled expensively around her face. She wore a designer dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. Some things had not changed. She stood when she saw me, uncertainty flashing across her face. "Collins, thank you for coming." I nodded stiffly. "How is he?" "Hanging in there. The doctor is with him now. They will let us know when we can go in." She gestured to the empty seat beside her. "Your father will be happy to see you." I chose a seat across from her instead of next to her. "So you have been in contact with my father for 3 years and never thought to mention it to me." She shifted uncomfortably. "He asked me not to. Said you two had your own relationship and he did not want to complicate things." She glanced at her watch. "My husband will be joining us shortly." He wanted to be here too. The information hit me like a physical blow. Not only was Amanda back in my life suddenly, but her new husband would be here too. This day was becoming increasingly surreal. You remarried. It was not a question. Yes, 4 years ago. James is wonderful. Very successful. There was something in her tone almost boastful. I am happy for you, I said automatically, though I felt nothing of the sort. What I felt was confusion about why she and her husband would be so involved in my father's life. Your father speaks very highly of you, she said, changing the subject. He follows your career closely. He has all the press clippings about your company. This was news to me. My father had never expressed much interest in my career during our brief conversations over the years. I did not know that I admitted. He is very proud, just not good at showing it. Her expression softened. Some people keep their feelings locked away. Was that a dig at me? Before I could respond, a nurse approached and told us we could see my father now. As we stood, Amanda added, I told James to come directly to the room when he arrives. Following the nurse down the corridor, I prepared myself for what was to come. I had not seen my father in person for nearly 2 years. What would cancer have done to the strong, stoic man who had raised me after my mother died? The first thing I noticed was how small my father looked in the hospital bed. Robert Collins had always been a commanding presence, 6'2" with broad shoulders and a voice that could fill a room. Now he seemed diminished. His skin sallow against the white hospital sheets, his once thick gray hair reduced to wispy strands. His eyes brightened when he saw me. Junior, you came. He was the only one who still called me that. To the rest of the world, I was just Collins. I moved to his bedside, taking his frail hand in mine. Of course I came, Dad. Why did not you tell me you were sick? He grimaced. Did not want to be a burden. You have that big company to run. The words stung. How had we drifted so far apart that he thought his terminal illness would be a burden to me? You are my father. Nothing is more important. I meant it, and saying it aloud made me realize how much time we had wasted on pride and distance. I noticed Amanda hovering nearby, and so did my father. Amanda has been visiting me for months, brings me books, talks to the doctors when they use those big medical terms. I shot her a questioning look. This level of involvement seemed strange for an ex-daughter-in-law, with no ongoing connection to the family. It is no trouble, she said quickly. Your father was always good to me even after everything. Dad squeezed my hand. She's been helping with arrangements too, insurance forms, talking about hospice options. My protective instincts flared. I can handle all of that, Dad. I should be the one taking care of these things. I know, son, but you are busy, and Amanda offered. She and James have been very generous with their time. There it was again. James. The new husband who was apparently deeply involved in my father's care. My unease grew. As if summoned by our conversation, the door opened, and a man walked in. Tall, tan, with the kind of teeth you only get from expensive cosmetic dentistry. He wore a tailored suit that screamed money, and a watch that probably cost as much as a car. I disliked him immediately. Amanda's face lit up in a way I remembered all too well. James. You made it. She pulled him forward eagerly. This is Collins Roberts' son. Collins, this is my husband, James Whitmore. James extended his hand with practiced charm. Pleasure to meet you. Heard a lot about you. I shook his hand briefly, noting the too firm grip of someone trying to establish dominance. Wish I could say the same. An awkward silence fell, until Amanda broke it with an overly bright tone. James, this is Collins, the one I told you about. And Collins, meet my new husband. Handsome, rich, and romantic. Everything a girl could want. I saw my father wince at her tactlessness. James smiled indulgently at his wife before turning to my father. How are you feeling today, Robert? Any better than yesterday? The casual familiarity grated on me. Who was this man to speak to my father, as if they were old friends. "About the same," my father replied. "Glad my son is here now. Your company is keeping you busy, I imagine," James said, turning back to me. "Amanda mentioned you work in tech." The way he said it, slightly dismissive, suggested he thought it was some small startup. "I do," I replied, simply not feeling the need to elaborate. "James is executive vice president at Westridge Systems," Amanda interjected. "They just closed a $100 million acquisition deal last month." "That is impressive," I said, though I was growing increasingly irritated by her obvious attempts to showcase her husband's success. "It is a competitive industry," James said with false modesty. "But we are making our mark. Our CEO is pushing us into some exciting new markets. Brilliant guy, though. I have only met him a few times at large company functions. Very private person." Something about the way he spoke tugged at my memory. Westridge Systems. The name was familiar. "Which division are you in?" I asked casually. "Enterprise Solutions. We just moved into the Madison Tower downtown last month. Beautiful offices." Now I knew why the company sounded familiar. Westridge Systems was a subsidiary that my company Nexus Innovations had acquired 6 months ago. The acquisition had been handled discreetly, with minimal personnel changes to avoid disruption. As CEO, I had not been involved in the day-to-day integration, leaving that to my operations team. Before I could decide whether to reveal this connection, a nurse entered the room with a clipboard. "Mr. Collins, we need your signature on these insurance forms." James looked at my father, assuming the nurse was addressing him, but she walked directly to me. I took the clipboard, and as I signed, the nurse added, "Thank you, Mr. Collins. Dr. Peterson mentioned he would like to speak with you privately about your father's treatment options when you have a moment." James looked at me with sudden confusion. "You are Collins from Nexus Innovations." I handed the clipboard back to the nurse. "That is right. CEO for the past 4 years." The color drained from Amanda's face as realization dawned. Her husband was effectively my employee. "You are that?" Collins. James repeated, his confident demeanor crumbling. "The one who acquired Westridge 6 months ago." The very same, I confirmed, unable to suppress a small feeling of satisfaction at their shock. Amanda's mouth opened and closed without sound. The irony was almost too perfect. All her boasting about her husband's success, only to discover he worked for her ex-husband. My father made a sound that might have been a chuckle. "Well now, is not that something?" The room fell into a stunned silence. James tugged at his collar as if it had suddenly become too tight. Amanda stared at the floor, her earlier smugness evaporated. "I should speak with the doctor," I said, calmly standing up. "Dad, I will be right back. We have a lot to talk about." As I walked past Amanda and James, I could feel their eyes following me. The tables had turned in a way none of us could have anticipated. And while I took no joy in their discomfort, I could not deny the poetic justice of the moment. After speaking briefly with the doctor about my father's condition, I returned to find Amanda and James gone, and my father alone, looking more alert than before. "They went to the cafeteria," he explained. "Thought we might want some time alone." I pulled a chair close to his bed. "How long have they really been in your life, Dad?" He sighed, picking at the edge of his blanket. "Amanda reached out about 8 months ago. Said she had been thinking about the family, wanted to know how I was doing." He looked up at me. At first I was happy to hear from her. She was like a daughter to me once. But then the questions started. Questions about you. Your company. How successful you had become. I was proud to tell her, of course. But looking back, I realized she was fishing for information. Anger flared inside me. She was using you. I figured that out eventually. Too trusting in my old age, I guess. By then, she had already insinuated herself into my life, bringing groceries, taking me to appointments after the diagnosis. "Why did not you call me when you found out you were sick?" The hurt in my voice was evident. He reached for my hand. "Pride, mostly. We have not been close, Junior. That is on both of us." I did not want you to see me weak, and truthfully, I did not know how bad it was going to get. By the time I did, Amanda was already involved telling me how busy you were, how I should not bother you. The manipulation was so obvious now. Amanda had deliberately kept me away from my father while gathering information about my life and success. Dad, what is the real story with Amanda and James? Why are they so involved? He shifted uncomfortably. About a month ago, James started coming with her. Real friendly. Asking about you too. I got suspicious when he mentioned he worked for a tech company that had recently been acquired. Started putting the pieces together. I think they figured out who you were professionally and saw an opportunity. An opportunity for what networking career advancement. Or maybe Amanda just wanted to show off to you that she had done well for herself. He paused. I should have shut it down, but selfishly, I appreciated the company, the attention. These walls get lonely. The admission broke my heart. Had I been so absent that my father had to accept the companionship of people with ulterior motives? I am here now, Dad. I am not going anywhere. His eyes welled with tears. I wasted so much time being stubborn. After your mother died, I did not know how to be the father you needed. Threw myself into work instead. Sound familiar? The parallel between us hit hard. I had been repeating his patterns without realizing it. We both made mistakes, I acknowledged. But we still have time to make things right. Not much time, he said, glancing down at his frail body. Enough time, I insisted. And as for Amanda and James, I will handle them. I found them in the hospital cafeteria, huddled in conversation. They fell silent when they saw me approach. James stood up awkwardly. Collins, I want to explain, he began. I raised a hand to stop him. I overheard enough in the hallway on my way here. You two were arguing about careers and status. Amanda had the decency to look embarrassed. It is not what you think. I think it is exactly what I think, I countered. You sought out my father to get information about me and my company. When you realized the connection to James's employer, you saw an opportunity. That is not fair, she protested weakly. What is not fair is using my dying father as a networking opportunity. The controlled anger in my voice made both of them flinch. James cleared his throat. Look, I had no idea who you were when Amanda reconnected with your father. It was just a coincidence that I work for a company your firm acquired. A coincidence you were eager to exploit, once you figured it out. I said evenly. How long were you planning to wait before revealing the connection? Or were you hoping to casually mention it to me when my father's condition made me emotionally vulnerable? Amanda stood up, her eyes flashing with a familiar defensiveness. You always did think the worst of people. Maybe I genuinely care about your father. Did that ever cross your mind? I might have believed that if you had not been pumping him for information about me for months, if you had not kept my father's illness from me until it was impossible to hide anymore. She looked away, unable to maintain eye contact. What do you want from us? James asked quietly. I want honesty. I want respect for my father in his final days, and I want clear boundaries going forward. I laid out my terms clearly. They could visit my father, but only at scheduled times that would not overlap with mine. All medical decisions would go through me, and there would be no more discussions about careers or networking. As for your position at Westridge, I told James your employment will be based solely on your performance and merit. I will not interfere either way, but know that I will be watching more closely now. Relief washed over his face. He had clearly been worried about his job. Amanda tried once more. Collins, about what happened between us all those years ago. Save it, I interrupted. That chapter of our lives is long closed. I am not interested in apologies or explanations after 12 years. This is about my father now, nothing else. As I turned to leave, Amanda called after me. You have changed. I paused and looked back. Yes, I have. And I suggest you both do too. Walking away, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. For years, I had carried the pain of Amanda's betrayal like a stone in my chest. Now, confronted with her manipulations and seeing through them clearly, I realized that stone had crumbled to dust. I was finally free. The next 3 weeks were a precious gift. I took a leave of absence from work to spend every day with my father. We talked more during those weeks than we had in the previous decade. About my mother, about our shared regrets, about the men we had become in our isolation from each other. True to their word, Amanda and James kept their distance, visiting only during their allotted times. When we did cross paths in the hospital corridor, the exchanges were civil but brief. The power dynamic had shifted entirely, and all of us knew it. My father's condition deteriorated rapidly in the 3rd week. The cancer was aggressive, spreading throughout his body despite the palliative treatments. One evening, as I sat beside his bed reading aloud from his favorite Hemingway novel, he reached for my hand. "Enough reading," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I need to tell you something." I put the book down and leaned closer. "I am proud of you, son. Not because you became a big success or run some fancy company, but because of the man you are. Strong, principled. You got hurt badly but did not let it break you." Tears welled in my eyes. "I learned that from you, Dad." He shook his head slightly. "No, you learned it despite me. I shut down after your mother died, closed myself off. You found a way to keep going, to build something meaningful. It is never too late to change," I told him, squeezing his hand gently. He smiled weakly. "Too late for me, but I go knowing my son is going to be all right. That is enough." He passed away peacefully 2 days later with me by his side. Amanda and James attended the small funeral service, standing respectfully at a distance. When it was over, Amanda approached me alone. "I am truly sorry for your loss," she said, and for once there was no ulterior motive in her eyes. "Your father was a good man." Yes, I agreed. He was. "And for what it is worth, I am sorry for everything else too. What I did to you. How I handled things. All of it." I nodded, accepting her words for what they were. "Take care of yourself, Amanda." It was the last personal conversation we ever had. Back at work, I maintained my word regarding James. I did not interfere with his position at Westridge, evaluating his department's performance objectively. To his credit, he worked harder than ever, perhaps trying to prove his worth on merit alone. When he came up for consideration for promotion 6 months later, I approved it based on his results, not our personal connection. Office gossip inevitably circulated about our strange relationship, but I addressed it professionally, sharing only that James was married to someone I had known years ago. My leadership team respected my handling of the potential conflict of interest, and several mentioned privately that it demonstrated the integrity they had come to expect from me. Amanda reached out several times in the months following my father's death, but I politely declined her invitations to meet. Some doors are better left closed. The experience changed me in unexpected ways. I had spent years building walls to protect myself from being hurt again, focusing exclusively on career success as a substitute for meaningful connections. Now I found myself reconsidering that approach to life. I started small, accepting dinner invitations from colleagues I had previously kept at a professional distance, reconnecting with old friends from before the divorce, even going on a few dates, approaching each with a new openness I had denied myself for years. 6 months after my father's passing, I scattered his ashes at his favorite fishing spot in the mountains. Standing alone by the clear running stream where we had spent rare, happy moments during my childhood, I felt a sense of peace that had eluded me for most of my adult life. My father's illness had brought my past crashing back into my present in the most unexpected way. The reunion with Amanda had not provided the closure I thought I had needed, but rather revealed that true closure comes from within. Her attempts to impress me to showcase her new successful life had fallen flat because I had already built something more valuable: inner strength and self-worth that could not be shaken by others' opinions or actions. The ironic twist of James working for my company had not been about revenge or karma, as satisfying as that momentary revelation had been. Instead, it showed me that success measured by titles and wealth means little without integrity and genuine connections. Looking back at the strange sequence of events, I realized that sometimes life brings the most painful parts of your past back around, not to torment you, but to show you how far you have come. The man who had once been devastated by Amanda's betrayal now saw it as just one chapter in a longer story. An important chapter, certainly, but not the defining one. As I stood by the stream watching the last of the ashes drift away with the current, I made a silent promise to my father and to myself. I would stop using work as a shield against vulnerability. I would build a life rich with connections, even if that meant risking pain again. Because a life without meaningful relationships is not really living at all, just existing. Have you ever had someone from your past return unexpectedly? How did you handle it? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit like and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences. And if you know someone who might be building walls instead of bridges in their life, share this story with them. Thank you for listening to my journey. Remember, sometimes the most painful reunions can lead to the most profound healing.